William Clair, Lieutenant Commander, U.S. Navy Reserve. It's a good thing that I'm now an overt officer. In other words, when I left the agency some 20 years ago, I converted from an undercover officer to an overt, and it's the reason why I can explain what I did, only in the most general terms, but for another incredible coincidence, I went through this fairly rigorous 16 weeks of training to become an operations officer down at the famous secret location, and had no particular interest I had no particular direction. And one day a senior officer came down and explained what was going on in the Congo at that time, and I thought, and he said, this is a pretty exciting life. And then I met this fellow the next morning, and I said to him, and as a junior officer to a very senior officer, I said, that was the most interesting, fascinating story I have ever heard in my life, and it was basically the story of the Belgian Congo and Lumumba and that business. And he said to me, "What's your name, boy?" And I told him, and 3 months later he called me and said, "Hey, boy, you want a job in Africa?" And I said, "Yeah, that sounds like a good idea." I went home and told my wife, and she said, "Africa? Oh, what the hell are we going to do in Africa?" So, a couple years later, after learning the trade, we were assigned to what was then Southern Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. Spent a couple years there. There we went to, there we were very fortunate, I was chief of base in Asmara, Eritrea. It was part of Ethiopia at the time, and Eritrea. A couple years there, then a couple years doing other things, ended up in long tour in Nairobi, Kenya, which is pretty glorious, and then finished out as the chief of station in Port Louis, Mauritius. So it was a good run, and I guess it all goes back to looking at the guy next to me reading something about the Navy, which precipitated these events, right? And I'm very happy now to be here amongst all these other Navy people. Of course, I was very fortunate again, even during the height of the Vietnam War, when many of our officers were assigned to either Laos or Vietnam, because I was in Africa and it was a sort of a specialized field, they sort of left me alone, and so I escaped that. It all worked out.